every single element of the Charlie Kirk case that matters, from the people to the weapon that was used, was searched before, in some cases, a day before Charlie Kirk passed away. Absolutely. I said it once, I'll say it again. JFK level weirdness. I know what you're wondering. Why the glasses? Well, it's 3 a.m. I got to make sure the circadian rhythm is in check because I got to go to sleep right after I make this video. Coach Colin here. What's going on, guys? Maybe you've heard about it, maybe you haven't, but there's been one guy who decided to do some Google trend searches or some Google, like he's looking into Google searches. What's been searched on Google. Now, what he ended up finding is wild. And this guy deserves a lot of credit. Not a lot of people are giving him a lot of shine. I just want to take that time right now, and then I'm going to show you some really weird stuff. But his name is Baron Coleman. And this guy has been doing these lives where he is live with people and he's searching things that they just want to know about. He's doing his searches live, and mysteriously, after he uncovers everything that I'm going to show you, it gets scrubbed. Wild. Absolutely wild. Again, JFK level weirdness. Let's jump into this first thing. In case you don't know what I mean, you will understand by the end of these clips. Look at how weird this is.
The shooting. Well, there's Washington, D.C. at 11 a.m., the day before the Charlie Kirk shooting. And you'll see here where the news finally broke that it was, in fact, Tyler James Robinson. But notice that. That's weird. That's weird.
That is weird, I gotta say. Why would anybody be searching the name Tyler James Robinson one day before he allegedly assassinated Charlie Kirk?
That is the question. So that is what we're seeing here, okay? We're seeing some very weird stuff. So people are, somebody, and it's not just somebody, but somebody in Washington, D.C. This is just like Thomas Matthew Crooks, where you were able to see cell phone data that someone from DC went all the way to his house and stayed there for a while and then went all the way back to DC. And the place that they went was just I think it was 2 blocks away from FBI headquarters. It was nuts. And it didn't make any sense. And no one ever figured out who that person was. And now we're seeing the same type of stuff here. And of course, it's just a search, but it doesn't stop here, guys. Let me go another one here.
Buckle up, whatever you need to do, because there is actually so much more weirdness to come. So if you remember, in the immediate hours after the shooting, people online were posting about this private jet that supposedly took off shortly after the assassination from Provo, Utah, which is 12 minutes away from the university, because for some reason, the transponder of that plane had turned off after takeoff. Tail number of that airplane is 9888 KG, which they later told us the transponder specifically turned off because it flew over an area where planes frequently lose contact. Okay, maybe that's true, maybe it's not, but check this out.
In 888 KG, November 888 Kilo Golf. And you can see here where the news breaks about the plane. The evening of September 10th, the evening after the shooting, you can see the news break here about the plane, and everybody starts rushing to look at it as they come across it on their Facebook and Twitter feeds and all this. But what is that in Utah?
Once again, September 9th, one day before the shooting, there is a blip.
A blip. This is, again, and there's more, guys, but somebody's searching this exact thing a day before. This right here is like, I believe this is close to 24 hours before. It seems like there is somebody in DC who is searching up everything they need to know or everything they need the layout for. Because again, it goes deeper. All a day before. I mean, just the fact that someone was searching Tyler J. Robinson. I even found there was someone searching Lance Twiggs who's Tyler J. Robinson's lover, boyfriend, whatever you want to call it. Everything. It doesn't stop here. Let's keep going. Next one. I'm telling you, this guy's doing great work. Got to check out his channel. Guys, this is a serious message. As you can see, I'm not even in uniform. I'm not wearing the signature hat. So you know, very serious message. 59% of you are not subscribed. Please, guys, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 500,000 subscribers. The road is long, but I know that we can do it. Please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the notifications. Please hit the like. If you want to keep seeing this content, if you want to help me move from being the Joe Rogan clip guy onto better, greener pastures, you got to hit the like. You got to hit the subscribe. It helps me tremendously. That is all I ask. Let's get back to the episode.
This is probably the wildest search that I was able to do. September 8th. You can see here where the shooting breaks. 3 p.m. He's shot. By 4 p.m., everybody on the planet is searching Losi Center, including people in the Washington, D.C. metro area. But I saw this blip and thought, why? Why on September 8th, 2 days before the shooting, is someone searching the Losi Center?
I am right there with you, brother.
Again, it's someone in D.C. that has now searched Tyler Robinson, Lance Twiggs, the name of this jet that just kind of took off and left, right around the time Charlie passed away, after the time he passed away, within hours of him passing, right? And now we have the Losi Center as well, exactly where Charlie was. I mean, every single part is getting searched beforehand. Listen, you should already put on your tinfoil Speedo. You know what I'm getting at. I mean, we've seen something pop up about, Tyler having an accomplice. The trajectories don't make sense. Valhalla, VFT, he already pointed that out. Candace suggested a second shooter. Now it seems like there is somebody who was along with Tyler inside of that Dodge Challenger that he had. It's just too much. I'm telling you, it's just too much weirdness. It is too much wild weirdness. Let me jump over. There's another one. It doesn't stop, guys. This guy goes deep with these searches.
Lots the last couple days. You'll see that. Lots of interest the last couple days. Let's go to the last 7 days. See? But let's exclude some time, shall we? Let's just do this just for this. I've not done this one, by the way. We're going to have to go back in time, and we're going to have to do it from before the shooting. So let's exclude it to September 9th. And so let's just do a national one. Let's do a month. Let's do April 10 to November 9. And let's just see. I don't know what this is going to show. It might show nothing or not enough information. I do not want to be like Geraldo, ripping open the safe, expecting to see great things. I don't know what this is going to show. Okay, so this is interesting. Over the United States, in the month leading up, there was no interest in Mauser 98s until August 31st. And then there was a blip. And we really got a good hit on September 7th, 3 days before the shooting. So let's change the jurisdiction here. Let's do it in the District of Columbia. Again, not making any guarantees, but there is a hit right there. Mauser 98 on August 27th, 2025. And it's the only time in the month that it was searched.
Mauser 98, a rifle that the feds tell us is powerful, vintage, and hard to trace. And in this case, someone in DC was very interested in old, vintage, hard-to-trace rifles just a couple weeks before the Charlie Kirk assassination.
It's so odd that there's so many different things searched from D.C. right around that time. Here, let me go back just because we're going to roll through them all afterwards. But here's some more. This is Baron talking once again, and he goes even deeper. I mean, this has become the thing that he does, that he's starting to connect pieces, or at least he's starting to stumble onto something very weird via these searches. So listen to what else he's found.
I wonder if anybody Googled the hospital where they took Charlie Kirk. Wonder if anybody Googled the hospital where they took Charlie Kirk. They took him to Timpanogos Regional Hospital. That's there in the district. That's there in Utah. They have, I think, a campus in Orem, Utah. Psycho District of Columbia. Here's where, again, on September 10th, 11th, right there, you see the searches for Timpanogos Regional Hospital, people looking for where they took Charlie Kirk. But you'll see this spike of interest in Timpanogos Regional Hospital out of D.C., and then no interest for 2 solid months before the shooting. But again, keep in mind that July 20 anchor date. Here we have a July 16, 2025. And then we have a July 3, and we have a June 28. And if you go out 12 months, you'll notice you even had one back then, and then this all kind of goes out. So something's going on here at the Timpanogos Regional Hospital search. And then right the day before the shooting, somebody in the District of Columbia says, we should really make sure we know what the Timpanogos Regional Hospital is. We really should make sure we know the day before he gets shot. So you had that July 20 anchor date, the time around there. You had a time way back. That could be anything. And then the day before, somebody zeroes in and says, we need to look up Timpanogos Regional Hospital. Maybe they're looking up an address. Maybe they're looking up, who knows? But again, I'm just reporting the facts. I'm not drawing conclusions tonight. I could give you possible conclusions you could draw, and you could draw your own conclusions, or you could just sit back and look and learn like I did. Because after Timpanogos Regional Hospital, I thought, I wonder who the medical examiner is in Utah. I wonder who the medical examiner is in Utah, because it appears to me, based on everything I've looked at, that Charlie Kirk may not have had an autopsy, which I find shocking. Shocking. Because an autopsy could give you a lot of things, such as what angle did the bullet come in? Where did the bullet go? What type of bullet was it? What damages were done to the organs? Were there any other injuries? And this is going to come up in a minute. Were there any other injuries anywhere else in the body? And so I wondered who the medical examiner was there in Utah. And I looked her up. She's a woman named Deidre Amaro. And she was looked up, at this time not in the District of Columbia, but in
Philadelphia.
Which I thought was very strange. June 30th of 2025. In
Philadelphia.
Israel. June 30th, 2025, an IP address originating in Israel. Again, we talked last week about the ways IP addresses can end up somewhere. But Deidre Amaro, the medical examiner there in Utah, somebody with an IP address originating in Israel decided they were very interested in Deidre Amaro.
Now, this actually is very interesting. Now, here's why. Apparently there was a hospital that was a little bit closer to where the Turning Point event was held. And for some reason, instead of bringing him to that hospital, they brought him to the hospital where this woman was at. Now, you might not find that interesting, but I'm standing here with no socks on, no pants, and a tinfoil Speedo. So for me, that is actually very, very interesting, especially when you figure out what Baron just told us, because maybe Baron doesn't know that information, right? Maybe it's just strange to him just overall, but it becomes very strange when you learn that there was a different option that they could have chose, but they went there instead. And who was in charge of getting him there? His security. Who does security have ties to? Philadelphia. But that's neither here nor there. Let's keep going.
And lest you think I didn't check, the reason I'm not showing you others, go to the District of Columbia, for example, not there. You can even go to Utah and see. Not there. So if it's not in the District of Columbia and it's not in Utah, this is not a very common search, is what I'm pointing out here. Not a very common search at all. But there it was. In
Philadelphia.
Israel. So I thought, that's weird. That's weird. So I press on. All right. This one gets a little deep. This one, if you have a 5-point safety harness in your seat, you might want to go ahead and fasten it. You will have full access to your entire seat. You will only need the front edge for this one. This one took a little research. I was very curious when the Talking Points USA spokesperson came out and said they had spoken to the surgeon, but didn't give the surgeon's name. So I thought, who's the surgeon? Again, this is the surgeon who looked, according to the Talking Points USA spokesperson, who seems like a nice guy, not knocking him at all. Only doing his job, relaying the message that he was given from the surgeon, just letting the world know about it. Fine with it. This is the guy who said, hey, Charlie's made of steel. This bullet would have normally gone through almost anybody, but Charlie's made of steel. But he didn't give the surgeon's name. And again, remember, Deidre Amaro, they didn't do an autopsy, I don't think. At least that's the news on the street. They didn't do an autopsy. So I go and I get a list of all the surgeons I can find at the Orem branch of Timpanogos Regional Hospital. And I think, could anyone have looked up any of these people? The first surgeon I could find was a guy named Stephen Nealman. Stephen Nealman. Remember that date, July 20? This is July 18th. This is July 18th. Stephen Nealman. July 18th, 2025. This was out of our friends on the other side of the planet over there. Very curious about the surgeons in Utah, you'll find out. I go to the next one I could find, Robert Patterson. I found a
Now, I think with what I just told you about the hospitals, I think it applies more to that surgeon I just may have jumped the gun there a little bit. Sorry about that. But yeah, with the fact that that surgeon was searched, the fact that that surgeon was at the hospital he was at, and the fact that they had a closer option, but opted out of that and went straight to where that surgeon was. Just weird stuff, man.
A lot, so I added an MD to it. Robert Patterson, MD, July 23 and 24. May have been the only one that was searched twice, 2 days in a row. July 23 and 24, Robert Patterson, MD. Again, I just find online a list of surgeons at Timpanogos. I eliminate people like the breast reconstruction surgeons because I didn't think that was necessary to look up. Actually, I might have looked up one of them. But I found the general surgeons, the emergency surgeons, all the people who minor surgery. I looked them all up. I go to the next one, Lee Trotter. Has anyone looked up Lee Trotter? Again, notice the date. Notice the date. This is right in that July 20 area, that July 20 timeline. Someone with an IP address originating in Israel, looking up surgeon Lee Trotter, near about that same July 20 time period. Are there other surgeons in the area? Yeah, as a matter of fact, there is. There's a guy named Lee Patterson. So I look up Lee Patterson. Notice the date, July 19th. Somebody with an IP address originating in
Philadelphia.
Israel, in the week of July 20, that week on either side of July 20, was very interested in all the people who practice surgery at Timpanogos Regional Hospital in Orem, Utah. There was a lot of interest from an IP address originating there. Now, let's just, we talked about the different, let's say someone's using a VPN. At this point, if I'm the FBI or I'm the Utah State Police, I think this is still a Utah State Police matter, by the way. This didn't cross jurisdictional lines, I don't think. If I'm the Utah State Police, I'm calling Google and saying, I need to know the IP addresses that hit this. I need to know if this belongs to a VPN, does it belong to this. Is it the same IP address that looked up all the different surgeons in my county? Because there's more. By the way, there's a guy named Brian Gill, probably a very talented surgeon. July 22, IP address originating in
Philadelphia.
Israel. What about Richard Rasmussen? I'm sure he's a fine surgeon, a nice guy, probably a pillar of the community. Also searched, July 14th, IP address originating in Israel.
Philadelphia.
Richard Rasmussen. Again, if I'm the state police, if I'm the FBI, I have real concerns that my surgeons are being searched within a very narrow time window, like 7 to 10 days of each other. And I want to know, is it the same IP address looking at all of them? Because I want to know who the hell is so curious about my surgeons in my local hospital. If I'm the FBI, I might ask, is this related to an assassination where they rushed the body there and there was a surgeon that declared Charlie Kirk a Superman and claims he found the bullet and then signed the death certificate and there was no autopsy. And people may have been searching these surgeons?
Oh, man. Yeah, again, doing great work. Great work. And it's all very odd. I hope Candace gets a hold of this information as well. I was talking about that information of there being a possible accomplice. I don't know what she's going to do with that footage, but I hope she gets this as well, because this just looks ridiculous. I don't know how much longer she has on her break, but she might come back early, depending on what the break was for. There you see it there, Tyler J. Robinson, Lance Twiggs. I mean, Baron pretty much created this trend of, looking into these searches, right? So you see that this is what's going on here. Blips, like people have been really looking in to what he's talking about. So he's done some really great work. Again, this guy's name, Baron Coleman. Please look him up. He's doing long videos too. He's really sitting in with the audience, going through what they want to search, talking with them. He's done a bunch of lives. Seems like he's just getting started, because honestly, it seemed like from the first video he did about this, disturbing Google searches before Charlie Kirk, it seemed like, he was just trying something out. He was just like, oh, let's see. But now it's actually starting to get some steam, and it's valuable research, in my opinion. I think so. You know what? One thing I wanted to know. Let me see if I can find this out. When was September 10th turning point event announced? When was it announced? Let's see if we can find the answer to that real quick. September 27th, September 22nd. That doesn't make any sense. Turning Point USA announced the relaunch of their campus tour. No. I want to know about the event. No, the event that took place where Charlie. When was that first announced? See if I can find anything there, because if it's around the time of those searches, then it's just nuts. The Turning Point. See now everything that you search about this is connected to Charlie passing, so it's hard to find any information on it. Ah, man, if anybody can think of any way that I can access that information, or you can, let me know when that event was announced, because if it correlates with those other IPs in Philadelphia, that's a thing. That's a thing, honestly. But I just wanted to show that to you guys. Again, Baron Coleman, please check him out. If you liked Valhalla VFT, you can trust me on this. I don't know how much longer he'll be doing this, but it's valuable information. So I would jump in there. But anyways, guys, let me know what you think about this whole thing. I know at times it just seems like, whatever, somebody searched. The fact that they're all from D.C. and Philadelphia is weird. It is weird, especially the plane. Like Tyler Robinson, that's very weird. Losi Center, yeah, like what? The plane that supposedly took off just hours after not even hours, like it was like maybe an hour after Charlie passed, this plane takes off and just goes. That's why Candace was so curious about planes the other day. I don't know if you saw that when she was on X. That's why she was so curious about the flight paths of these planes. I think it was like an Egyptian plane that was going back and forth or something like that. That's why she was so curious about it, because when it first happened, there was talk about this plane, this 888 plane, taking off and not having the proper tracking. So no one even knows where it went. But it left just minutes, half an hour probably after Charlie passed away. Anyways, guys, just wanted to bring that to you. I'm out of here.